The forest at night, a place where the line between reality and nightmare begins to blur. The trees stand tall like ancient sentinels, their branches twisted and gnarled as if trying to whisper secrets of forgotten things. Tonight, the air is thick with a sense of unease, the kind that wraps around you like the unseen eyes lurking in the shadows. They thought it would be just another camping trip, a night away from the city, surrounded by nature's quiet embrace. But they didn't know what waited for them in these woods. It started with the feeling.
Please like and subscribe to Horror and Channel.
Off. The fire crackled, but the warmth didn't reach them. The silence between their laughter grew heavier, interrupted only by the occasional rustle that seemed just a little too close. A few dismissed it as animals, while others began to glance over their shoulders into the darkness that swallowed everything beyond the light. Hours passed. The fire died down to embers, and with it their sense of security. One by one they retired to their tents, pulling their sleeping bags tight around them as the forest seemed to close in. But for one, sleep wouldn't come. She lay there, eyes wide open, listening to the sounds of the forest. The wind whispered through the trees, but beneath it there was something else. A low, distant hum, barely there but persistent. It felt wrong, too unnatural, too alive. She sat up, straining her ears. The hum grew louder, turning into a soft, rhythmic chant, though no voices could be heard. Panic surged. She stepped out of the tent, her breath catching in her throat as her eyes scanned the dark forest. And that's when she saw it, barely visible through the trees, an unnatural light, faint, cold, and pulsating deep within the forest where no one had dared to go. Against her better judgment, she followed it. The forest grew thicker with every step, the trees closing in like they wanted to swallow her whole. The cold light flickered in the distance, leading her deeper and deeper. The further she went, the more the air changed. It wasn't just cold anymore. It was heavy, oppressive, as if the forest itself was trying to crush her spirit. And then she saw them. Figures, draped in tattered robes, standing in a circle around the light. Their faces were hidden beneath dark hoods, but their mouths moved in unison, chanting that same low hum she had heard before. The light pulsed with every word, growing brighter then dimmer, as if it were breathing. She couldn't move. She couldn't scream. The sight rooted her in place, a terror so deep it silenced her every instinct. Suddenly, one of the figures turned its head, slowly, as if sensing her presence. From beneath the hood, two glowing eyes stared directly at her, piercing the darkness like knives. The chanting stopped, the light flickered out, and the forest fell into an impossibly deep silence. She ran. Branches whipped at her skin as she tore through the underbrush, heart pounding in her chest. The forest felt endless, with the trees like a maze that twisted her in every direction. But no matter how fast she ran, she could hear them. The whisper of robes brushing against leaves, the soft footfalls behind her, growing louder, closer. She stumbled, falling hard into the dirt. The wind was knocked from her lungs, and as she tried to scramble back to her feet, she realized something horrifying. It was quiet, too quiet. She turned slowly, dreading what she would see, but there was nothing. The forest stood still, empty, as if she had imagined it all. The figures, the light, the chanting, it was all gone. Only the trees, tall and silent, remained, watching her with their ancient, unblinking eyes. She stood, shaking, her breath shallow. Was it over? A hand, cold as death, clamped down on her shoulder, She screamed, but the forest swallowed the sound. When the others woke the next morning, her tent was empty, her things untouched. Her footprints led to the edge of the trees and vanished. They searched for hours, calling her name, but the forest offered nothing in return. It was as if she had never been there at all. But deep in the woods, if you listen closely, you can still hear it. The soft hum, the rhythmic chant, and the faint, cold light flickering between the trees. And if you're brave or foolish enough to follow it, you'll understand why no one ever returns.